Like my previous two videos, we'll be staying right here in the represented plains of East Africa. Very similar to Pittsburgh's exhibit, I'll show you Indianapolis Zoo's idea of the African savanna, where we will encounter many of the same species, like large birds, hoofstock, and active elephants. This is the Plains exhibit at the Indianapolis Zoo. The current Indianapolis Zoo opened in 1988, and throughout its relatively short existence, little has changed. Looking at the zoo's first map, their Plains exhibit is very similar to what it is today, with a few animals and exhibits added along the way. It always wasn't just home to African animals. It says it in the name, plains, which are grassland fields found in many parts of the world. The exhibit's last section was once Australian themed, with kangaroos and emus up close. When they left, the entire area became African themed. I'll discuss more about the area's history as we move along. And with that intro, let's begin with the walkthrough. If you were to follow the zoo's paths in order, the plains would be your last stop. When entering, it only takes a few steps and you are taken in by the zoo's second largest individual habitat. This is a 1.05 acre multi-species savanna. The main path circles this exhibit, setting the foundation of the plains area. Here you would find white-bearded wildebeest and Grant zebras, which you will actually see later because they are rotated with the rest, which are Ruppel's vultures, marabou storks, southern ostriches, and greater kudu, both male and female. Moving along the first curve of the circle, the plains grounds forms perfect mounds along each side of the path, giving the feeling that you are enclosed in another world. And eventually, the idea is to bring you into open plains. And here is the second of many views of the open savanna. Behind it, the next exhibit contains two hoofstock species of opposite sizes, the rarest gazelle in the world and the world's tallest animal. Starting with the Acre gazelle, that coexist with the reticulated giraffe. There is a side view, along with a boardwalk that gets you close enough to even feed their giraffes. Together, both species share a 25,000 square foot yard. The zoo breeds both species. The last Acre gazelle, a critically endangered species, to be born here was in 2011, and the last giraffe birth occurred here just last year. Moving along, you are led to the watering hole side of the savanna, the third of many more views. And across from them is the land's third largest animal. This is a large shrubland habitat for their southern white rhinoceroses. The zoo is home to 3 of them, and they live in an exhibit that seems to bring them really close to you. I'll touch up more on them later. But we must move along to go to the pride of the zoo, and a family that lately has been making a lot of noise. Of course, I'm referring to the zoo's African lions, home to adults Nyack and Zuri. For a while, it was only them, but on September 21st, 2015, Zuri gave birth to 3 cubs, 2 males, Enzi and Mashaka, and a female, Sukari, who are still all together at the zoo. They all live in a 7,820 square foot exhibit, ranking it at number 36 on the U.S. lion habitat size chart. Going in front of them, we are going to the main viewing of the white rhinos, which is actually quite unique. The hut you see here is placed in the middle of the habitat, but in order to access it, you must cross a very wobbly and bouncy ground-level bridge, a favorite amongst children to play on. According to the first map, this exhibit was once home to elephants, possibly until 2002, when a new home was built for them. The zoo's rhinos are Gloria, Bamboa, and Spike. In 2009, the zoo announced that Gloria was pregnant, but unfortunately the calf was a stillborn. I do not know if she has given birth in Indianapolis, but she has been pregnant a total of 9 times and has produced 6 calves. In the back corner of the frame was once an exhibit for the endangered African painted dog, but unfortunately the zoo tore down their exhibit and the species at the zoo is no more. This is the next area, located at the top of the plains exhibit, a rocky outcrop for a troop of Guinea Baboons, another species that the zoo breeds, the last offspring being born in 2009. Nearly connected to them is the lion exhibit, which we will have a look at once more. In a recent renovation, the other viewing fence was replaced with glass, but this side remained untouched. This is the start of the windy path that leads towards the exit. Luckily, the largest attraction has yet to come, starting with the 4th view of the Savanna. Across from this viewing is a wall with small slits. Guests can look into them and get a glimpse of a private yard for the Savanna animals, which in this case contained the zebras and the wildebeest. And now for the top attraction, the zoo's African Elephant Reserve. There are actually 2 yards, this being the first. It is a 1.30-acre grassland yard, making it the largest exhibit in the zoo. 8 elephants live here, 7 females and 1 young male. And when we stop by them one more time, I'll talk more about them and the zoo's successful history of breeding this declining species. Connected to the elephants is a very unique feature. This is an interactive game called Race a Cheetah. This is where guests, mostly children, race a continuous light that moves equal to the speed of a cheetah. And here's how it's done. Obviously, there's no way to beat the moving light, but it's still always fun. And if you didn't see or guess, the game is connected to an exhibit with the world's fastest animal, the cheetah. They have a marvelous 2-part, 18,000 square foot yard that was added to the plains in 2010. It is quite immersive, and the elephants can be seen in the distance. And behind them, before we head on to new pastures, here is just one last look at the Savanna yard. This bridge takes you over to the next and final realm. The bridge also passes over parts of the cheetah habitat, the side I haven't showed you. Next is the only plains habitat that focuses on Africa's smaller birds. With the current birds, this also used to contain bat-eared foxes, but today you are brought very close to colorful birds such as crested kuas, a new species to the zoo, along with the elegant gray-crowned cranes. Also northern yellow-billed hornbills, and finally the helmeted guinea fowl. Going back to the elephants, like I said, the zoo is home to 7 females: Sophie, the matriarch, Ivory, Kalina, Kubwa, Naya, Tombi, and Zahara, and only 1 male, Kedar. The zoo has a successful history with breeding these elephants, a task that many zoos seem to struggle with. The zoo was able to breed without even having a full-grown male in their collection, Here's how. Kuba, a 41-year-old female, was the first ever African elephant to become pregnant and give birth through the process of artificial insemination. This occurred in the year 2000, but she has since given birth to both Kedar in 2005 and Kalina in 2011, also through the same process. Ivory, born in 1982, became the second African elephant to give birth through artificial insemination on August 4th, 2000, a male named Ajani that now lives at the Birmingham Zoo. And since then, Ivory has given birth 2 more times, Zahara in 2006 and Naya in 2012. Naya was the last to be born at the zoo, so far. And here is another look at the second elephant yard, the smallest of the 2. The pools are connected to create a panoramic view with elephants on both sides of where you stand. Unfortunately, that's all for the elephants, and the journey through the plains is coming to a close. The exhibit in front of us was added in 2009, and it was first home to a Komodo Dragon, a male named Hudo, who I actually see quite often. That's because he now lives in Cincinnati. He was transferred but was soon replaced by what you would see here today. In 2011 came a much less imposing animal, but nonetheless, this will bring you up close with the very attractive warthog. And it's worth noting that they share their habitat with African crested porcupines. And with that, we are through the East African plains. And with this year's tour through Indianapolis, we are almost done. And our last stop will be the final and top attraction, so stay tuned. Also coming up, I ventured up north and gathered new additions for Zoo Tours of 2017. Please be sure to subscribe and check out many of my other extensive walkthroughs.